Unbelievable, girl shows up barefoot for interview, millionaire CEO makes shocking decision. The sun was setting, casting an eerie glow over the towering glass skyscrapers of New York City. As murmurs filled the lavish entrance of Sterling Enterprises, the anticipation was palpable. Everyone was buzzing about the peculiar girl who dared to walk into the building barefoot. Barefoot. Who does that? It was an audacious statement in a world where appearances ruled and first impressions dictated careers. What was this girl thinking, waltzing in without a single shoe clad on her feet? A gasp erupted from the crowd as she stepped into the opulent boardroom, her hair wild and clothes creased, yet she stood confidently, scanning the high-powered executives as if she owned the place. The CEO, a renowned billionaire with a reputation for making or breaking lives in an instant, sat back, a bemused look spreading across his face. His usual demeanor was one of icy composure, a man who made decisions like clockwork. The audacity of this girl had disrupted his routine, igniting a flicker of curiosity in his calculating mind. What was her story? What drove her to this moment? Surely, it couldn't be mere whimsy. Chatter filled the air, doubts creeping into the minds of the observers. Is she lost? Someone whispered. Does she even know who he is? Another exclaimed, eyes wide with disbelief. The tension escalated as she approached the CEO, her bare feet silently padding across the polished floor, drawing every gaze towards her. The silence wrapped around them like a thick fog, the kind where every heart seemed to beat louder. What kind of bravery does it take to bare your souls and your soul in front of a room full of millionaires? And just then, everything changed. In a move that left everyone slack-jawed, the CEO leaned forward, intrigue replacing his usual indifference as he asked, "What do you want?" The moment hung in the air, heavy with expectation. Was she about to change her life or make a monumental mistake? The room held its breath, but nobody could predict what unfathomable revelation she would deliver. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The tension was electric, a tightrope stretched over a gorge of uncertainty. She swallowed hard. The lump in her throat threatened to choke her as the weight of all eyes bore down. Would she stutter? Would she falter? A breath caught deep in her chest, and then she spoke, shocking everyone in the room. I'm here to change everything. I have an idea that'll turn your empire upside down. The boldness of her claim sent shivers through the crowd, each curious and skeptical, unable to peel their eyes away. What could a girl with no shoes possibly know about running a business empire? Her piercing gaze met the CEO's. In that split second, something shifted, the energy crackling like the moment before a storm. Could it be true? Could she hold the key to something extraordinary? Or was this all a hoax waiting to unravel in the harsh light of reality? The CEO's eyes narrowed, a calculated look sweeping over his face. The murmurs intensified, each whisper more confounded than the last. Turn my empire upside down. He echoed, half in disbelief, half in fascination. Silence fell, almost suffocating in its weight. The girl held her ground, the confidence radiating from her seeming almost supernatural. How could anyone believe that a barefoot girl, reeking of rebellion and impulsiveness, could disrupt a titan of industry? But deep inside, she felt the tiniest spark of hope igniting. Yes, she said, her voice stronger this time, slicing through the tension. I know how to exploit the gaps your competitors overlook. Consumers crave authenticity, and I can bring it to your brand like never before. Think about it, you're surrounded by suits and ties, images crafted to facade power and wealth. What if we drop the pretense? He leaned back, absorbing her words. A part of him wanted to dismiss her as another eccentric, but her words dug into him. He felt the stirrings of intrigue growing stronger, threatening to push aside his habitual skepticism. Go on, he urged, a hint of curiosity threading through his cool demeanor. She took a hesitant step forward, eyes brightening with the chance to unleash her vision. You've built a fortress of success over the years, but you're losing touch. Your last product launch flopped. People want to connect with real stories, real experiences. Let me show you how to take Sterling Enterprises into a new era. Gasps rippled around the boardroom. The executives exchanged skeptical glances, unsure whether to laugh or to consider her proposition seriously. Who was she to suggest change? But the CEO didn't look away. The flicker in his gaze suggested he might be biting at the bait she was laying out. What do you know about business? He asked, his voice sharp, but not unkind. She hesitated. This was the moment that could redefine everything. I know what it's like to be on the outside looking in. I worked in retail, I know what customers crave, and believe it or not, I know how to make a statement without wearing shoes. Sometimes, the merit of an idea isn't wrapped in a perfect package. The boardroom was vibrating with a gripping tension, and a sense of urgency surged through her veins. It was now or never. What got you here won't sustain you. Your empire is built on status and wealth, but it's crumbling from the inside out because the world is changing. Allow me to integrate a grassroots approach, a fresh perspective straight from the streets. The CEO's smirk was now replaced by a contemplative frown, matching the weight of his responsibilities. You think this, he gestured at her bare feet, makes you relatable? Authenticity isn't just about convenience or style. It's about the message. But that's just it. She blurted, her heart racing as she caught a glimpse of the opening. My message can be a game changer. The world no longer fits into neat little boxes. I'm ready to leap into the future with you, if you'll let me. The room fell into a stillness. The murmurs faded to a hush, and the anticipation crystallized as she awaited his response. Was she really ready for whatever lay ahead, or had she just leapt into a chasm of uncertainty? Her bare feet would have to tread uncharted waters. Then he leaned forward, a grin creeping onto his face that startled her. Okay, let us see what you've got. You have 1 month to prove your idea works, otherwise, this conversation ends here. Her heart leapt and the atmosphere thickened with possibility. Little did they know that her plan was unfolding a lot deeper than mere business strategy. She tried to catch her breath when suddenly a low rumble echoed outside. Glancing out the tall glass windows, a dark storm brewed on the horizon. But what she didn't know was that the real storm was about to hit much closer to home, and she would stand at the center of it all. Rain began to pour, heavy and relentless, as the girl hurried out of the imposing skyscraper. The boardroom's glow faded behind her, replaced by the harsh bite of the storm's chill. She felt alive, a surge of energy coursing through her veins. It was a peculiar mix of exhilaration and terror. 1 month. 1 month to flip the script on an empire built on illusions, and she had to be ready. But right now, she was just a girl on a mission, caught in a downpour, with the world ahead calling her name. She sprinted down the street, water splashing up around her bare feet as she crossed the crowded avenue, buzzing with people seeking refuge from the storm. Up ahead, she spotted an old shop, a retro thrift store called Second Chances. Its colorful sign swung wildly in the wind, beckoning her. Inside, the warmth wrapped around her like a comforting embrace, the scent of aged wood mixed with a hint of something sweet and nostalgic. She stepped in, shaking off droplets like a dog emerging from the pool, scanning the eclectic assortment of items. Broken mirrors, worn-out shoes, and old vinyl records lined the walls. A soft voice came from behind the counter. You look like you've been caught in a storm, miss. The owner, an older woman with gentle eyes and silver hair, offered her a towel. You're not in trouble, are you? No, she laughed, wiping her face. Just dealing with a big meeting. What are you looking for? The owner asked, her curiosity sparked. Something unique. Something real. The woman raised an eyebrow, leaning closer as if about to divulge a secret. The best treasures are often hidden in plain sight. What are you hoping to find? The girl looked around, suddenly realizing, she was no longer just searching for vintage items. She was searching for inspiration, something to fuel her wild hopes. I want to show the world that you don't have to conform to succeed. It's about what's inside. The store owner nodded, understanding glistening in her eyes. Then you must take a leap. Try that, she said, pointing to a small, tattered notebook on a shelf. Intrigued, the girl picked it up and opened it. The pages were filled with drawings and scribbles, a chaotic blend of thoughts. It was a reflection of someone's raw, unfiltered mind. Her heart raced. This was exactly what she needed, something to ground her ideas, to pave their path into reality. You can't just look for what's already there, you have to create it, the woman said, smiling knowingly. Clutching the notebook, she felt a spark deep within her. I'll take it, she declared, her voice firm. After purchasing the notebook, she stepped back into the storm, heart hammering in her chest. Ideas churned in her mind like the turbulent clouds above. What if authenticity wasn't just the concept? What if it was an experience? What if she could turn Sterling Enterprises into a place where dreams could flourish, untamed and raw? As she dashed through the puddles, her phone buzzed. It was a message from an unknown number. I know what you're planning. Better watch your back. Her heart dropped, panic enveloping her. Who was sending this? What did they know? The thrill of her new endeavor now felt tangled with shadows lurking just behind her. The storm continued its aggressive dance, reflecting the chaos brewing within her. With every step, she felt the weight of urgency pressing down. She had to formulate her vision, refine it, and keep her head above water. Yet, unseen dangers whispered in the storm's booming voice. Would she find the strength to weather this tempest? Or was she rushing towards a confrontation no one could foresee? The clock was ticking, and the real storm was only just beginning. The downpour softened just enough to allow her a moment of clarity. She huddled beneath the awning of a nearby cafe, drawing in deep breaths as the world rushed by. The rain-soaked pavement shimmered under flickering streetlights, but her mind was focused on one thing: who had sent that chilling message. Her fingers trembled as she pulled out her phone, glancing at the screen for clues. The number was untraceable, a ghost in the digital world. Panic clawed at her throat. Was this a practical joke, or was someone truly on her tail? She couldn't afford to let fear sideline her now. Still clutching the battered notebook, she felt its rough edges grounding her. Each page was a reminder of her purpose, a reminder that she was more than just another face in the corporate machine. She had plans, dreams, a vision. Sterling Enterprises could transform if she played her cards right, but now it seemed the universe was pushing back. She lingered at the cafe's entrance, watching patrons bustle in and out, blissfully ignorant of the storm brewing in her heart. A man stepped out, his umbrella flicking open just in time, drenching her in the remnants of his hurried retreat. Her skin prickled not from the chill, but from the uncanny feeling that someone was watching her. "Hey, miss. Are you okay?" A voice pulled her from her thoughts. It was a barista, a young guy with bright blue hair and a concerned expression. "You look like you could use a hot drink." "Yeah, I'm fine," she stuttered. The last thing she needed was more attention. She stepped back, trying to melt into the shadows, but he insisted. "Coffee's on the house if you look like you need it," he said with a smile that cut through her anxiety. Just then, her phone buzzed again. This time, the message was from an unfamiliar contact. "Meet me at the old diner on Elm. I can help you. But you can't be seen." Her heart raced. This felt too convenient, too much like a trap. Could she trust this unknown person? But what were her options? Risks were necessary now, and the storm within her matched the tempest outside. She had just a month, and she couldn't let anyone or anything hold her back. "All right," she mumbled, suddenly excited by a mix of fear and adrenaline. I'll take that coffee, actually. The barista rushed back inside, leaving her alone for a heartbeat longer. The rain resumed its relentless rhythm, and her breath quickened. She needed to make a plan. With her heart thudding, she pulled the notebook closer, flipping through the pages. Her eyes landed on a scrawled quote that resonated: "In the chaos lies opportunity." The coffee arrived steaming in a chipped mug, bold and inviting. As she took a sip, she felt a rush of warmth in her chest, but the nagging sensation of unease remained. "Do you want to talk about it?" the barista asked, wiping his hands on a rag. Genuine concern filled his eyes. She hesitated. Could she confide in a stranger? Would that even matter? Before she could answer, a figure appeared at the edge of the awning. Cloaked in shadows, their face obscured, they stood still, watching her. Her pulse quickened as fear raced through her veins. Who were they? What did they want? In that moment, she knew she was on the verge of something monumental, a choice that could shift everything for her. With a deep breath, she pushed past the barista and stepped out into the rain, ready to face whoever was waiting. Was this the beginning of her downfall, or her rise? As she approached the figure, she fought against the intoxicating blend of dread and determination bubbling within her. The truth was lurking in the storm, and she was ready to find it, but would it lead her to freedom or disaster? The figure shifted slightly as she approached, their movements smooth and deliberate. The rain started to intensify once more, drumming against the pavement like an anxious heartbeat. Shadows danced across the stranger's face, creating a veil of mystery that sent chills down her spine. "Are you Alyssa?" the figure asked, their voice barely rising above the downpour. There was an edge to it, urgency mixed with something darker. "Yes," she replied, her throat dry as she fought to keep her voice steady. She was sure this person had the answers she craved. But with every second that passed, doubt crept in. "Come with me," the figure demanded. They turned sharply, glancing over their shoulder as if expecting someone to emerge from the shadows. She felt her heart race. Could she trust them? The diner was only a couple of blocks away, but it now felt like a lifetime. "Who are you?" she pressed, not ready to follow blindly. "Not here," they insisted, their tone firm but quiet. "We don't have time. You're in danger." The word hit her like a brick. Danger? Her mind raced back to the untraceable message on her phone. Was this real or just a ploy to draw her into a trap? But the clock was ticking, and her head screamed for her to act. "Why should I believe you?" "Because I know what you're planning," they replied, eyes narrowed, dripping with intensity. "I've been watching you for weeks. You're trying to upend everything at Sterling Enterprises. You can't fight these people alone." A mix of anger and confusion welled inside her. Someone had been watching her. "You've been spying on me." Each word dripped with disbelief. "They're not who you think they are, Alyssa," the figure breathed, glancing around again, their fidgeting suggesting a simmering panic beneath the surface. "Come on." Before she could protest further, they grabbed her wrist and pulled her into the narrow alley beside the cafe. The world outside blurred with the noise of the storm, and she could feel the press of the dark, wet brick against her back. The air was thick with tension, and the stranger's breath came quick and heavy, mixing with the rain-soaked humidity. "What do you know?" she demanded, desperate for answers, her pulse thrumming with adrenaline. "More than you can imagine," they replied quickly. "Sterling is involved in things that go beyond corporate greed. They play a dangerous game with people's lives." Each word felt like a warning. She felt her world tilt. What had she stumbled into? "You didn't answer my question." "Who are you?" Their response was abruptly cut short as a nearby car skidded to a halt. The headlights sliced through the rain, illuminating the alleyway. Alyssa felt her breath hitch as she stared into the glaring light, a sense of impending dread swallowing her whole. "Shit. They found us," the stranger whispered, their grip on her tightening. "Run. Trust me." But where? The shadows stretched around her, and the pounding rain swallowed every sound. All she had was this enigmatic figure leading her into the unknown. As they dashed into the heart of the storm, she had only one thought: what lay ahead was more than just a confrontation. It was a descent into a turbulent web of betrayal, secrets, and perhaps the end of everything she thought she knew. Just keep moving, the stranger urged, tugging her along as they slipped deeper into the darkness. But with every step they took, a question loomed: was she running toward the truth or away from her safety, and what awaited her at the end of the gauntlet of shadows? The rain lashed at them like frenzied fingers, each drop a reminder of the storm outside and the chaos threatening to engulf them. Alyssa's heart hammered in her chest as they rounded a corner, the sound of their footsteps muffled by the torrential downpour. "Why are they after me?" she gasped, struggling to keep pace with her mysterious guide, who pulled her forward with an urgency she couldn't ignore. Every instinct screamed at her to escape, but not knowing who hunted her was like running blindfolded through a minefield. "They don't want you getting too close," the figure replied, eyes scanning the dimly lit street ahead. "You've crossed a line they won't let you return from. You need to understand what is really at stake here." Alyssa's breath came faster, words tumbling out in a frenzied rush. "What do you mean?" "I was just trying to expose their unethical practices. I thought I had proof. "You're only scratching the surface," they interrupted, leading her toward a narrow door tucked between two looming buildings. "Come on. We can't stay out here." As they slipped inside, Alyssa caught a glimpse of a pair of headlights barreling down the street, their beams searching. The door creaked closed, locking out the noise as they plunged into the quiet darkness. It was a small storage room, full of crates and cobwebs. A single flickering bulb dangled overhead, casting long shadows across the floor. The musty smell of damp wood filled the air, and a tremor of fear raced through her veins. "Who are you?" she asked again, desperation fraying her nerves. "You can't just pull me away from everything and not explain what is happening." "I'm someone who wants to help you," the figure answered, voice low as they leaned closer, urgency seeping into every word. "My name is Carter. I worked inside Sterling for years before I realized how deep the corruption ran. They'll stop at nothing to silence you. I couldn't let you make the same mistakes I did." "You worked there?" Alyssa's mind reeled. She'd traded whispers and rumors about Sterling with too many uneasy souls, but hearing it from someone who had witnessed it firsthand sent a wave of clarity crashing over her. "What else do you know?" Carter rubbed the back of his neck, eyes darting toward the door. "More than I can tell you right now. They have eyes everywhere, and they're coming for us. We need to get moving." "No," she said, resolve hardening her voice. "I deserve to know the truth. How deep does it go? What are they actually doing?" "They're involved in arms dealing, money laundering, dark networks you could never imagine." His voice trembled slightly, a hint of his fear breaking through the bravado. "And let me tell you, Alyssa, the people calling the shots at Sterling will eliminate anyone who threatens their empire, including you." A knot formed in her stomach. The stakes were higher than she'd ever anticipated. "And you?" she pressed, searching his face for something more. "Why help me?" "Because I failed. I didn't get out in time," he admitted, shame flooding his expression. "Now I'm trying to save someone who still has a chance, someone who can expose them." Before she could respond, a loud bang echoed outside, a sound that sent icy dread skittering down her spine. They weren't just being hunted, the predators were closing in. "Carter, what do we do?" The panic she had held at bay threatened to overwhelm her. "Follow me," he urged, a glimmer of determination sparking in his eyes. "I know a way out." As they rushed to another door at the back of the room, the weight of uncertainty bore down on her. What lay ahead was possibly the most dangerous path she could take. But could she depend on this man, this stranger who claimed to know everything? With pounding hearts and tightening fear, they stepped into the shadows once more, oblivious to the eyes watching them from the street, and as they exited into the storm, Alyssa couldn't shake the thought: was she siding with ally or enemy? Would she become a target herself? The night was far from over. A new question lingered in the air: could she unravel the truth before it unraveled her? The chill of the night clung to Alyssa's skin as she and Carter emerged from the storage room. The rain didn't just fall, it poured, soaking them instantly. Lightning cut the sky, illuminating the dark alleys just long enough for her to catch fleeting images of twisted metal and puddles reflecting broken dreams. "Stay close," Carter instructed, grabbing her wrist. They moved quickly down the alley, the sound of rushing water drowning out her pounding heart. There was no time to hesitate. Shadows lurked around them, creeping closer. Alyssa could almost feel their breath on her neck. "Where are we going?" she managed to ask, squinting through the torrent. "To a safe house. I have contacts that can help," he trailed off, glancing back nervously. "But we need to stay ahead of them." She nodded, though doubt gnawed at her insides. Would anyone really help her? In that moment, the weight of her own naivety crashed down. She thought she was brave, but was she even prepared for the truth that might change everything? The narrow alley gave way to a wide street. Carter pulled her into a cramped doorway just as a car slowed, headlights piercing through the curtain of rain. Alyssa pressed herself into the corners, her heart racing as the thrum of the engine faded. The moment felt fraught with possibility and dread. "Are they gone?" she whispered, teeth chattering with anxiety. A moment passed, then Carter peered out. "For now. But we have to move." They darted across the street into a series of side alleys, each shadow stretching further and deeper than the last. Alyssa felt every ounce of fear pouring through her. They could easily fall prey to the darkness either from the storm or from what hunted them. Carter suddenly stopped, pulling Alyssa behind a dumpster. "Wait." He crouched low, intent on listening. Alyssa strained to hear it too, the sound of footsteps, quick and purposeful, approaching from the direction they'd come. Her stomach dropped. "Did you call anyone?" she asked, panic creeping in. "No, it's just they're tracking us. We need to stay silent." Her heart raced as she looked up, seeing a figure emerge from the rain, silhouetted against the pale glow of a streetlight. Alyssa squeezed her eyes shut, holding tightly to the hope that they wouldn't be found. Sweat mingled with rainwater on her brow, and she could feel Carter's tension beside her. A deep voice broke through the wind. "I know you're out there, Alyssa." He sounded almost amused, like a predator toying with its prey. The hairs on the back of her neck stood on end. "You can't run forever." Her breath caught in her throat. "What do they want from me?" "They want silence." Carter's voice was a harsh whisper. "And they're willing to do anything to get it." The footsteps faded momentarily, only to return louder than before. Alyssa could see the soles of their shoes now, dark shapes cutting through the rain. They were close, too close. "Carter, I can't know." He interrupted fiercely, gripping her shoulders and locking eyes. "You can do this. You're stronger than you know. Just hold on a little longer." His belief struck a chord deep inside her. But just as she started to feel hope, one of the figures called out again, closer this time. "We'll find you. Don't make this harder than it needs to be." Adrenaline surged through her veins. She couldn't let them find her here, not like this. "Carter, what's the plan?" He hesitated, weighing options that must have flickered through his mind like the lightning above. A blinding flash lit up the alley, followed by another bang that shook the ground beneath them. Carter stumbled. The world spun, each heartbeat echoing louder than the last. Then she heard a rattle of gunfire that sent a bolt of ice through her veins. "Run!" Carter shouted, pulling her to her feet as they bolted down the alleyway, the shadows screaming behind them. With the sound of chasing feet gaining ground, they plunged deeper into the maze of the stormy night, fear gripping them both. But as the thunder rolled, a part of her wondered aloud, could anyone survive this hunt? The truth, or their relentless pursuers? Who would live to tell the tale? Just as they turned a corner, the rain began to clear, revealing a glimmer of light ahead. But was it freedom, or another trap waiting in disguise? The light glimmered like a beacon in the chaos, beckoning through the sheets of rain. Alyssa's heart raced, torn between fear and a desperate need for safety. She could feel Carter's grip tighten around her wrist as they sprinted toward the flicker. "Stay close," he shouted again, urgency fueling his words. The alley opened into a small courtyard, drenched in the last of the storm. A battered neon sign buzzed overhead, flickering the letters, "Café," in tired yellow. The windows were fogged, and inside, shadows moved like restless ghosts. "Wait," Carter said, pulling her back just as the sunlight vanished and a thunderous crack disrupted the silence. "We can't go in there without a plan." "What do you mean?" "It looks safe." Alyssa was panting, her legs trembling. The raw fear in her voice shattered any whispers of calm. Carter knelt beside her, glancing over his shoulder. "I can't trust anyone, not yet. We need intel first." "You're kidding me, right? There are people looking for us, and you want to assess the place?" Her voice trembled with frustration. "We don't have a choice," he said, almost pleading. "If they find us slinking into a café, it'll be the end." Alyssa fought the impulse to scream. Courage bubbled and burst within her, but it felt as fragile as the light illuminated in front of them. "Then what do we do?" Carter's eyes narrowed, his mind racing. "We create a distraction. Something big enough to throw them off our trail." Alyssa blinked. "And how exactly do you plan to pull that off? Remember those firecrackers we found in the storage room?" His voice dropped to a whisper, his gaze darting around. "We can set them off near the alley entrance." Alyssa swallowed hard. "You think that'll work?" "We don't have many options left." He nodded toward the window, which revealed silhouettes of patrons inside, oblivious. "We need to act fast. I'll grab the firecrackers. You keep an eye on the street." Tension coursed through her. Every second felt like an eternity, and nerves rattled her with every struggle to keep calm. "Okay, but you better be quick," she whispered, panic threading every word. Carter slipped back into the shadows, the rain soaking him as he faded into the dark. Alone, Alyssa pressed her back against the cool wall of the café, straining to hear the rhythm of the thunder and the shuffle of feet in the alleys. Moments stretched thin. Was it too quiet? Were they watching? Then, suddenly, a booming voice broke through the storm. "Come on out, Alyssa. I know you're here." Her stomach twisted. How did they find her so fast? Just then, a loud explosion erupted from the direction Carter had gone. Firecrackers lit up the air, sending sparks bursting into the rain. "Now!" she yelled, racing toward the sound. A glimmer of movement caught her eye, a figure sprinting toward her. It wasn't T. Carter. Panic surged as she turned to run, but her foot slipped on the slick pavement, catching her off balance. She landed hard, pain lancing through her ankle. "Get up, Alyssa," she hissed to herself, struggling to push through the haze of pain. The figure drew closer. Splashes of rain danced around them, mixing with the chaos of her rising heartbeat. Then came the shouts, frantic and piercing. "This way! Over here!" With every ounce of strength, Alyssa scrambled to her feet, ignoring the throbbing in her ankle. She turned, desperate to catch a glimpse of Carter. But no one was there, only shadows that blurred her vision. "Carter!" she screamed, desperation flooding her voice. The figure was so close now, pulsing with malevolent energy. It was impossible to see clearly through the deluge, all she could do was keep running. But deep down, a chilling thought sank in her mind: what if the truth she sought was more dangerous than the shadows chasing her? As she raced toward the fleeting light of the café, their place of supposed refuge, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were fast approaching something darker than ever before. Suddenly, she caught her breath as bright lights flared up ahead. The café door swung open and a silhouette stepped out, but was it a friend or a foe? As she drew closer, the roaring storm trailed off, ringing silence before the next storm brewed in her heart. Who stood in her path, and what fate awaited her now? Alyssa froze, her heart thundering as the figure in the doorway became clearer. Rain cascaded off the brim of the stranger's hat, their face shrouded in shadows. Each second stretched painfully, and she could almost hear the blood rushing in her ears, drowning out the storm. "Who are you?" she shouted, every ounce of fierceness battling her fear. As if responding to her challenge, the silhouette stepped into the flickering light of the cafe sign. A familiar face emerged, a woman in her late 40s with sharp features and piercing blue eyes that locked onto Alyssa's. "Alyssa. It's me, Laura." She called out, her voice urgent yet steady. "Laura." The name sparked recognition, and a flicker of hope cut through Alyssa's fear. Laura had been her mentor years ago, someone she thought had vanished from her life. "What are you doing here?" "There's no time. They're plotting something dangerous." Laura looked behind her, her expression shifting from relief to panic. "We need to get you inside. Now." Adrenaline pressed Alyssa to act. She limped towards Laura, glancing back at the dark figure that had come too close for comfort. But no sooner had she reached the door than an echoing shout pierced the rain. "Stop her. Don't let her escape." Panic ignited, and she stumbled inside the cafe just as Laura shut the door, sealing them from the storm and whoever was hunting her. The interior smelled of burnt coffee and damp wood, a stark contrast to the chaos outside. Patrons inside looked startled, but no one except the barista seemed ready to intervene. "Listen to me, Alyssa," Laura whispered urgently, pulling her further into the dim corner of the cafe. "I don't have much time to explain. They're watching you. They've been watching all of us." "What do you mean?" Alyssa demanded, her heart racing. "Who are they?" "The syndicate. They don't just want you, they want everything you know," Laura said, voice trembling, eyes darting around. "You're in grave danger." Alyssa's mind raced, trying to comprehend the implications. The syndicate? It sounded like something out of a movie, not the grasp of reality she lived in. "But I don't know anything," she protested, desperate to convince herself. "Don't doubt your instincts. The moment you found that document at work, you crossed a line." Laura's expression hardened, her voice dropping to a whisper. "Their eyes are everywhere, Alyssa. You and Carter must leave here." A rush of memories flooded her. The document detailing unethical business practices at her company, it had been dropped carelessly in her mailbox. Carter had urged her to report it, igniting a fire she had thought might bring change. But now, it seemed it had just put a target on her back. "Carter, where is he?" Alyssa's breath caught in her throat. "He was right behind me. Don't worry, I sent him to find a safe car. It'll take you to a secure location." Laura glanced furtively toward the door, her face pale. The cafe was becoming a trap. As if summoned by her thoughts, a shadow loomed outside the panel of glass, momentarily blocking the cafe's dim light. Alyssa's pulse quickened. She recognized the outline. It was Carter, but he wasn't alone. "Get down!" Laura hissed, diving behind a table and dragging Alyssa with her. The door swung open hard, a rush of wind spilling rain into the cafe. Carter burst in just as the storm howled again, and behind him came two men, their faces cloaked in darkness. One brandished a weapon, a cold glint capturing Alyssa's eye. "I'm not leaving without her," Carter shouted, his voice breaking through her shock. "Run!" Laura yelled, her command cutting like thunder across the room. Just as she said it, everything exploded. Shouting, shattering glass, the heavy pounding of feet echoed in her ears. Alyssa felt a numbing fear grip her heart. This was no longer just about escape, it was about survival. As tables flew from their places and chaos erupted, Alyssa clutched Carter's arm, pulling him close. "What do we do? We can't fight them." But before he could respond, the cafe door swung shut again, and a terrible silence descended. It was a moment that felt electric, a prelude to the storm that promised to tear their lives apart. Now, she had a choice. Trust Laura and fight back, or flee into the unknown, but what would her heart decide? The moment had come, and darkness waited just beyond the glass. The world outside exploded into chaos. Shouts echoed through the cafe, mixing with the once familiar sounds of the storm. Alyssa's pulse raced as she scrambled behind Laura, peeking around a table just in time to see the men entering, their energy menacing and wild. Not just anyone, these were the syndicate agents searching for her. Carter stayed close, eyes darting for any escape route. They can't have seen me come in. We can use that, he whispered urgently. But what do we do? Alyssa's breath felt trapped in her chest as panic clawed at her throat. They're armed. Suddenly, one of the intruders turned, scanning the cafe. Alyssa's heart froze. Would they find her? Shoo! Laura hissed, tugging her down. The cafe patrons hid under tables, murmurs blending with the pounding rain. For once, that sound gave her a small comfort, a veil between her and the reality of the impending confrontation. We need to create a diversion, Carter finally said, determination sparking in his eyes. They'll be distracted if we make a move towards the back, give us a chance to slip out. Are you crazy? They'll just know. He interrupted, urgency radiating in his voice. We have to go now. It's our only shot. Alyssa felt the walls closing in, yet within that tightening coil, a flicker of resolve bloomed. This wasn't just about her anymore. Laura, Carter, everyone in this cafe could be caught in the crossfire of the syndicate's wrath. She couldn't let that happen. All right, let us do it. She shouted, igniting the rush of adrenaline in her veins. On three. Carter nodded. 1, 2, 3. They all erupted into action. Alyssa sprinted towards the staff entrance, adrenaline propelling her forward. As she glanced over her shoulder, she saw the intruders turning, surprise etched on their faces. Get them! One of them yelled, their voices sharp like glass cutting through the haze of fear. They ducked into the cramped hallway of the cafe. Carter was fast on her heels, flinging doors open, desperately hoping to find an exit. They burst into the kitchen, the smell of grease and burnt coffee enveloping them. Time was blurring as they raced like a storm through the chaotic back area, their eyes darting from one exit to another. Over there. The back door. Laura yelled, pointing to a heavy metal exit that looked like it could lead them into the storm's embrace, but just as they bolted toward it, the shadows of their pursuers flooded into the kitchen, their presence pressing in like a noose. You think you can run? One taunted, brandishing his weapon, a glint of malice evident in his stare. Alyssa's heart felt like it would explode. Just moments ago, she was someone chasing a corporate dream, and now? Now she was fighting for her life in a world wrapped in darkness. She pushed the thoughts aside. Keep moving. She shouted instinctively. She didn't know where they could go, but she couldn't stop. She couldn't let fear take over. As they barreled ahead, Carter shot a glance toward the oven, eyes narrowing. A distraction. He turned to Laura, grabbing the nearest pot of hot oil. If we can throw this. Without waiting for more words, he snatched it and flung it towards their attackers as they advanced. The hot oil splashed, causing screams to erupt from the aggressors and chaos to ensue around them. The distraction was enough. Now. Out the door. Carter shouted. They surged toward the heavy exit, throwing it open and diving into the rain-soaked night. Outside, the storm continued to summon its ferocity, lightning illuminating the world like flashes of truth. But in that moment, they were alive, scrambling into the alley, and adrenaline surged through them like electricity coursing through wires. Pushing forward, they plunged into the darkened streets, the storm lashing against them, guiding their escape. Where do we go now? Alyssa gasped, fighting against the tendrils of despair trying to creep in. There's a safe house in Brooklyn, Laura replied, urgency painting every word. But we can't go from here. They'll be watching the main roads. Carter's gaze met Alyssa's, fierce determination etched on his features. We can cut south, up toward the river. Fewer eyes will be on us. We can blend into the crowd there. Let us do it, Alyssa said through gritted teeth, channeling the fire that had ignited with every step. They moved forward, heartbeats racing in unison, the sound of rain drowning out the chaos behind them, pushing them further away from the danger lurking in the shadows. With each splash of water, each lightning flash overhead, they felt a renewed sense of purpose building. This was more than just survival, it was a mission. The clock was ticking, and she had no clue what awaited her at the safe house, but Alyssa had never felt more alive. In that race against the storm, they were not just running from the syndicate, they were sprinting towards something that ignited hope in her heart, a way to expose the truth that could topple an empire built on deception. She would not just be a girl who walked in barefoot, she would be a girl who walked out fighting and refusing to hide. With every step, she envisioned a meeting after all this face-to-face with the CEO of Sterling Lay, a confrontation that would change the course of her life and perhaps the lives of everyone caught in their tangled web. Whatever's ahead, we'll face it together, Alyssa whispered, her resolve wrapping around her like the storm clouds swirling overhead. In that moment, she became more than just Alyssa, she was a fierce storm ready to clash with the darkness. As they pushed through the heavy rain, breaking into the night filled with both danger and hope, they knew this was only the beginning. There was so much to unravel, and together, they were ready to unveil the truth, come what may. A new dawn awaited them, filled with unwavering possibility, but before that dawn broke, she would prove them all wrong. She would remain one step ahead of the shadows hunting her, turning the very storm that chased her into the fuel igniting her fight. As they rounded the last corner toward the safe house, she drew in a deep breath, a surge of daring echoing in the pit of her stomach. The storm was her ally. She was alive, ready to expose the darkness and emerge victorious. This was her moment to shine. Now, hold on tight. The journey was just starting. If you want to stay connected with Alyssa's journey and the fierce storms she faces, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this thrilling conclusion. What do you think will happen next? Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this electrifying end to a wild beginning. This is the moment to rally behind the characters we love and the battles they face.